Welcome to Lesson 4, Intro to Error Handling in the Swift Fundamentals. When I first started learning Swift for the first time, I feared error handling. In fact, I avoided as much as I could. Here's why. I thought I had to become a professional debugger to fully utilize the feature of error handling. But one day, however, I discovered it's nothing more than writing an else if statement to send and deal with error messages that you've designed on your own. Built-in and native features of error handling since Swift 2.0 allows you to write cleaner, modular, and readable code base. Let's begin. Welcome to Intro to Error Handling. Alright, there are a couple problems we're going to take a look at today. First of all, how do you warn your coworkers that the function can cause dangerous results? So especially when you're working with hardware such as a rocket. That's quite extreme, but like roller coasters or airplane, a function can lead to death, right? A small mistake in a function can cause people dying or breaking into pieces. Okay, so it's important that you take care of the function. And the second part is understanding what is a do try block when it comes to Swift programming language. And you may have seen it before, but you don't know how to use it and how to make one. And also lastly, how to distinguish between try question mark and try and when you see something like question mark, you kind of can tell that this will have to do with optionals. Okay, well, let's begin with the first part. Why do we even talk about error handling? Well, I think it's important for us to take a look at your past, my past, and our past, how we did in the past. Okay, and kind of move on. And if you see the pattern throughout, you'll see that I like to come up with things we've done in the past and how to solve to understand the rationale behind of why we do and why we learn things I'm teaching right now. So let's say you are a developer for making a roller coaster program. So if somebody's too short, you're not allowed to ride the roller coaster. If it's too tall, you're not allowed to ride a roller coaster. Well, let's create a simple function. How you did? You probably have done something like this in the past. Check height. You're gonna enter the height here. If it's greater than 2 meters, you are gonna hit your head and fall off. And this is the error message part. This is the error part. And then you're gonna have more code in them. Probably hundreds, thousands of lines of code. Take him off to the right, more code, and seatbelt tighten. And if you're shorter than 140, you might fly in the air and take him off from the right, her from the right, code. And lastly, if everything's good, enjoy your ride, take him to the right, and more code. I have simplified this function to visualize that this function contains a lot of information, right? Not only is it gonna print this, but this is nothing. And when it comes to this part, this thing can a lot of code. And here's a big problem using an else if as a function to do something like this. First of all, it is bloated. I can see the line. It is very bloated. The function becomes very bloated, right? This function does everything by itself, right? Handling this part. Let's say this is the error message part. You're gonna hit your head and fall off. This is the error part, and then you have a bunch of other tasks that this function has to do, and you don't want to do that. That's why bloated and also modularity, right? The tasks are everything into one single function, and you don't want to do that in programming. It's not maintainable. What I mean by that is when somebody never seen your code before, try to understand what you've done in this function. It's really hard to understand the other person for what you are trying to do because it's too complicated. You want to separate things out when it comes to coding, all right? You want to make things zen, okay? In this lesson, you're gonna learn how to make things zen, okay? We don't want to do like things like this. This is too bulky. So let me introduce you to error handling. Well, error handling is nothing to be scared of. It's nothing more than using an else if statement to deal with error messages, but in a separate place. All right. Again, in a separate place, not in an entirely one function, in a separate place. Okay. So and there are three things we're gonna do. First of all, we want to exactly know what kind of error that might have. Right, in advance, before you even write a single code with a function, you exactly want to know what kind of error that you are expected to have. And so now the first step is design error. Let's call this 1 out of 3. Okay, step 1 out of 3. Design the error. And for designing error, you're gonna use enum, and you have to use enum. I'm gonna explain to you why. You're gonna call it height error, and then we're gonna have two cases. One is max height, and the case min height. So you exactly know when somebody else try to read your code, and they exactly know what kind of problem that your code may have. Hey, there's a max height, you're too tall, and min height, you're too short. Okay, but here's the part: you have to follow this protocol called error. I mean, if you don't know a protocol, that's okay. We're gonna talk about more in later chapters. But why do we have error here? Well, if you think about when you bought an iPhone for the first time, an iOS 7 or 8, 9, you have to kind of swipe right to unlock your phone. You're not allowed to swipe left to unlock your phone. Same thing applies to programming, Swift programming language. Sometimes you kind of have to follow the pattern, sometimes follow the rules that somebody have designed the language, and we the users of this language have to follow their way, okay? That's why we have to have this error here. And let me explain to you. Let me talk about more later, okay? So now we're gonna design a function, all right? The function just like that. But again, as I mentioned before, this function does not have the handling part. This function is not gonna have you're gonna hit your head follow. This function will not gonna have. This function will only kind of say, hey, there's a problem. That's it. Hey, there's a problem. Hey, there's a problem. And the handling part will be done in a different place. So let's call it call function or create function, however you want it. Let's call it, I'm just gonna write it down. Check height error, and you're gonna enter height. And then here, pretty much the same thing here, typical else if height is greater than 400, oh, that's too tall for a human. Here's the thing, hey, there's an error. And how to go about that? Well, we're gonna use the word throw, okay? Throw height error, I'm gonna use the enum right there, max height, okay? And else if height is shorter than 140, and you're gonna say throw height error dot min height, okay? And else enjoy right there. So this function, what it's doing is you're simply indicating that, hey, there's a problem. Hey, there's a problem. Throw this problem. Throw this error. And this is very type safe because now, first of all, because this is enum, you're not gonna make any mistake. Well, if you choose a wrong case, but most likely you're not gonna have any mistake. But here's the problem: error is not handled because the function is not defined declare throws. So if a function throws something, what happens is you have to indicate that, hey, this is a special animal you can be aware of. And it goes back to here. Warn your coworker that the function can cause dangerous result. By looking at this, hey, this function is dangerous. Something it's gonna throw something. So I better be careful about this. So it tells you very clear. It's kind of a clear way for you to communicate that, hey, this function is dangerous. Okay, watch out. Okay. And the last part is actually, okay, when you run this function, all good, but now how are you gonna handle the error? So what I mean by that is when this thing throws the error, so what are you gonna do, right? In this part, what it did, you are gonna hit your head and fall off. That's what you did, and we're gonna do something similar. And in order to run this function that contains throw, all right, a function, if you option click on it, this thing throws, okay, you have to run the block using a do try block. You have to use it. Again, if a function throws, you have to run it using a do try block. For example, if you are simply trying to do check like that, it's not gonna work. Okay, that's not gonna work. You have to use do try block. That is the rule. Handle. This is a third part. Handle with error. You're gonna check. You're gonna say do. All right. Do this thing, and you're gonna say try check height error, okay, and then let's say 100, let's say 400. But here's a little difference. You're gonna say catch. If this thing throws height error dot max height, okay, you are too tall. Okay, are you getting it? You are too tall. And if it throws you height error dot mean height, you are too short. Okay, so right now, okay, let me explain to you. So you're trying to run this block of code, and in order to run this block of code, you have to use, in order to run this function, you have to use the word try. And then, as you may know, this function may return or throws an error. And this thing will either catch max height or min height. Okay, if it's min height, a minimum height, and it's gonna say, hey, you're too short. If it throws a max height, it's like, hey, you're too tall. So let's try to change it. If the height becomes 1 meter, say, hey, you're too short. Okay, no offense, but you're too short to ride a roller coaster. Too bad. It's for your safety, right? So, am I making sense right now? So we've divided the roles of how you code. You don't want to do everything in single place. This is hideous. You never want to do that, right? If you're making something very simple, yeah, that's fine. But when it comes to doing like roller coaster, like making an airplane, I've never done it before. But this is how I try to approach coding to make it safe and make it maintainable. Okay. Let's go back to enum height error. So as soon as you have this error protocol confirms, what happens is you are able to use within throw block, and that's like a magic design done by the Apple Swift engineers, right? In order to throw this enum case, you have to confirm the error. All right, I think that's good enough for now. Again, a language is nothing more than somebody designed it, right? It's nothing more than a tool, and sometimes you just have to follow how to use the tool. But it's important to why we use the tool. Anyway, not only you can apply this to object initializations, but also, just simply function, but also it can be used for object initialization for error handling. So this time I'm gonna go a little faster. Design error, one error, name error. So let's say you're making a course, okay? And that if that course contains no name, hey, just say, hey, you gotta put your name on it, okay? So, and then design, let's call it create a design class. This is part 2, create course. I cannot see the keyboard, so hope you guys don't mind me making little typos. So my name's string, and try to initialize it. Name, and here's a little different part. Initialization method. We call this initializer also method because it looks pretty much identical with function, right? This initializer method also can throw. So this is what I mean by that. If name equals 0, or you can say if name is empty, doesn't matter what you want to do. For the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to use this. You say throw name error dot no name, okay? And else simply initialize it. Self.name equals name. And then you also want to say, hey, you've created an object right there. Okay, so again, but it's going to complain, hey, there's the function, right? Again, initializer method, we call this method like a function, is not declared throws. So you have to say, hey, this initialization method can throw something, so you have to enter this throw keyword to indicate that this thing is dangerous. So all you're gonna do is do, right? That's how you do it. Do it, and then say try. Let's try to store the object into a variable, a constant. My course, try initialize it course, and then here we go. We have the string here, and let's try to enter something. There's no value to it. It's empty, right? And you're gonna catch name error dot, what was there? No name. Print, make sure enter your name place. Okay, right there. Boom. And of course you can do more code. Right, boom. So now you can say, hey, make sure enter your name place. And of course if you enter like Lawrence Swift with Bob, and it's gonna pay, hey, you create an object right there. Boom. Hey, you've created an object. hey, you've created an object. Awesome. That's it. So not only you can apply to a simple function, but also initializations as well. But sometimes you don't just, this can be a little overkill, but I just wanted to let you guys know that this is possible. And lastly, let's talk about how to distinguish between try, question mark, try, exclamation mark, and try. Well, as I said, when it comes to a function or object initialization that throws, you have to run in do try block, right? That is true for try, all right? You have to, but sometimes you don't have to. You can simply do, you can simply run the function using try without using do to catch, okay? I'm not sure what I mean by that. You can simply do something like this. Let new course try, course bob the div. But of course, you're not gonna, even if this initialization may throw something, you're not gonna have this print make sure enter your nameplate. You're not gonna do that. So what's gonna happen is, if let me just copy paste this for you, when to use. Oops, I can't see it. Okay, so if the error for something with a try, if you have error that is thrown, okay, it's gonna return nil. And if it doesn't throw an error, then it's just gonna simply an optional type. So right now, if you click on it, click on it, this becomes an optional type, okay? Because you've said is, hey, try question mark. And of course here, if you do use do try block, you're not gonna have optional type, just simply normal type, okay? And of course, when you use try question mark, you're not gonna see make sure enter your nameplate. You cannot handle the error. You're simply running the function, running the method, okay? And if you throw something, what happens is you're simply gonna be nil, okay? It's new course gonna be simply nil on the right side. And let's talk about try exclamation mark, which is try exclamation mark is, hey, my name course try exclamation mark and course Bobby Lee. And if you click on it, this is simply normal type. But here's a problem when it comes to as you may can tell, sometimes what if this course initializing method throws something, and here's a problem. You are going to face a crash. So if you use try exclamation mark and then this method throws something, and then you're just gonna have this problem, unexpected raise-in error. Okay, you're not allowed to do that because you cannot. Simply doesn't allow you to do that because it throws. Okay, it's just gonna crash. Okay, so but of course, when it comes to real programming, I recommend you guys to use try. This is the legit method, right? You know exactly what to do with your code, and sometimes this is simple and easy, but if you really want to communicate better, this is a better approach when it comes to coding. And hope you guys see why we came up with this error handling method in Swift. We just don't want to do something like this, all right? We don't want to hard code everything into a single function. You want to make sure each block of code has their own role, own duties, all right? By separating things out, their roles, right? Design the function, and execute the function, and catch those errors. Okay, that's what you want to do when it comes to coding, right? You want to feel zen. Okay, so see you guys in the next lesson. Keep coding like this. You don't want to put everything into one single place. Okay, see you guys in the next lesson. Boom, you've learned the Swift error handling syntax such as do, catch, and try. To recap, you may only use try within a do catch block if that function potentially throws. However, if you don't want to handle and catch errors, you may simply use try question mark or try bang, but it's not recommended. Always go follow the legit method, which is do, try, and catch. There's not many black and white answers in this world. However, in most cases, I would say when you're working with Swift, avoid using those bang sign in Swift, because if something doesn't go right as you expected, it will shut down your app. your program at all, and you don't want to have those feelings, those experience with for users. If you wish to review or you feel stuck, I have attached additional article for you to take a look at, so check those out if you need to. In the next lesson, you will learn the final usage case of those question marks and bangs in the Swift programming language through typecasting, which will allow you to convert types within classes and structs. Let's find out. See you in the next lesson.